feels like yesterday that I was hunched over my desk in my room in tears because I had just cheated on my diet. One slice of pizza turned into the entire box. I was 240 pounds, miserable, and just absolutely hated how I looked. I had finally had enough. It wasn't the fact that I had binged that made me so upset. It was that I knew I had to spend an extra day longer looking like that instead of this. In other words, an extra day of getting absolutely no bitches. Oh wait, those days still aren't over. However, what I didn't know then was I would spend the next 3 years dedicating myself to improving my mind, body, and life. Like really, I've completely obsessed over this shit. Honestly, there's probably something borderline wrong with me. It was far from smooth sailing and I made countless mistakes. But thanks to the rocky ride, I was able to learn so much more. In this video, I'm gonna take my experiences from the past 3 years and use them to give you the ultimate guide to fat loss. This is gonna be as comprehensive as possible. My goal here is to genuinely pack as much knowledge into one video as I possibly can. And because of that, I'm gonna use an iceberg style of breaking things down. I'm gonna start with the most simple and surface level information here, and then progressively move into more advanced strategies. Now, even if you are advanced, I would strongly encourage you to watch this entire video, because this isn't just ChatGPT top 10 fat loss tips. I'm bringing my personal experiences and perspectives into this, so there's gonna be a lot here that you're not gonna find anywhere else. I guarantee you will learn something new. Now, I'm gonna kick things off with everyone's favorite topic, fad diets. And I'm gonna explain to you why they actually work. Yes, you heard that right. Only eating bananas all day, in fact, will get you shredded. But maybe not for the reason you think. Technically, you can actually eat almost whatever you want and lose weight. Now, if for whatever reason you just really want to only eat bananas all day every day, that's completely fine. You can do that and lose fat. But before you do that, let me just give you a quick lesson on thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. E equals mc squared. Now you may be asking yourself, why is this guy trying to give me flashbacks to my trauma from high school chemistry class? Well, my student, the reason why these diets actually work is because they put you into a caloric deficit. Calories are really just a mathematical representation of energy, just like joules or watts. Now this is important because, like I just mentioned, E equals mc squared. Energy can be converted into mass and vice versa. So to visualize this a little bit, let's take a hot dog for example. Off the top of my head, a hot dog has about 300 calories in it. Well, actually, that's not quite right. The hot dog itself is 300 calories. It gets converted into energy through your digestive system. The mass gets converted into energy. Just by existing and doing our day-to-day activities, we use energy. Once your body turns the hot dog into energy, it then has the option to convert it into mass. Specifically and simplified, fat or muscle tissue. If the amount of energy you put in is lower than the amount of energy that you burn, then your body has to use some of its stored mass to compensate for that deficit. And on the opposite side of things, if you consume more energy than you actually use, your body's gonna store it for later. Evolutionarily, this is actually extremely convenient because there's going to be times when food may not be available. In these times, your body can just take stored energy from when you had plenty to go around and burn that off in order to meet your needs. Back to our banana example. I think now that we've broken this down a little bit, it makes a lot of sense why our banana example could work. If we just view food as raw energy, if the energy we take in from the bananas is lower than the amount we burn, we're of course gonna lose weight. So essentially, you can eat almost whatever you want while you're dieting. But I'm about to explain to you very shortly why that's probably a terrible idea. Now, with this new knowledge of thermodynamics, what I want you to do right now, if you haven't already, is download the MyFitnessPal app. What this will allow you to do is track the amount of foods you eat and actually view them numerically as energy and then compare that against your maintenance calories. Now you may be thinking, what the fuck are maintenance calories? Well, don't worry, I have all the answers. You can go online, Google maintenance calorie calculator, input your height and weight, potentially a few other stats, but they don't really matter that much, and just take a look at the sedentary or little to no exercise value, and boom, maintenance calories. Now that you have your maintenance, we're here to lose fat, not maintain our weight. So that brings the next question. How aggressive of a deficit should we do? Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to give you some more flashbacks to your high school trauma. 1 pound of fat contains 3,500 calories. So If we want to lose 2 pounds of fat per week, we have to be in a weekly deficit of 7,000 calories. 7,000 divided by 7 for 7 days in a week gives us 1,000 calories. Now, hypothetically, if your maintenance calories came out to be 2,500, you would just subtract 1,000 from 2,500. Boom, 1,500 calories. That's your daily deficit goal in order to lose 2 pounds a week. By the way, I would not recommend eating anything below 1,500 calories as a man. How do I know it sucks dick to go below 1,500 calories? Because I've done it. Now, with that in mind, how aggressive of a deficit should we actually do here? Personally, I like to cut a little faster. I would actually lean more towards the 1,500 calorie side of things, but I would not recommend that unless you quite literally do this professionally like me. Start with something reasonable. Losing weight should be easy. If you feel like it's taking an exceptional amount of willpower, then something in your regime is probably a little off. Obviously, be reasonable. Take it slow, it's gonna be a lot easier, and statistically, at the end of the day, you're way more likely to actually keep the weight off if you do it this way. Now, again, there might be some of you who completely ignore this cautionary advice and decide to take things aggressive. How do I know those of you exist? Because I'm one of them. I personally enjoy losing weight quite quickly because the progress in the mirror every day motivates me. Seeing my physique change and the weight fly off is all I need to keep going. I can be perfectly content eating ground turkey for every meal, using raw willpower in the fact that I'm getting absolutely shredded. However, you are not me. And I'm not just trying to flaunt my willpower on you. Like, legitimately, I've been doing this for 3 years. I was 240 pounds and I weigh 165 pounds now. It's not just willpower here. I have so much experience, so much practice, and everything in my life is perfectly lined up in order for me to do these things. I quite literally have a completely different structure to my life. I'm trying to become a professional athlete here. It should be different. I've been training consistently for 3 years straight. This means that my cardio's dialed in. I probably have more muscle mass than you, and I know how to do things safely. If you're fat, out of shape, overweight, etc., odds are you've probably been pretty slack on your diet for a while. You aren't going to be used to just jumping into a 1,500, 1,800 calorie diet. It's completely unrealistic. Ease into it. Trust me, it's going to be a lot more fun. Sure, it's going to take longer, but just be content with that. You're already going to be making a lot of sacrifice anyways. Don't take it too far. Next up, I'm going to go over food choice. So what exactly should you be eating? You're telling me I can eat whatever I want and lose weight, so why wouldn't I just eat Domino's pizza all day? Another very bad idea. Again, because I've done it. Here's your food criteria. This is gonna be the most optimal things to eat. For your diet, you should aim as much as possible to meet this criteria. Low calorie, high volume, high protein food. Low calorie is pretty self-explanatory. We want food with low calories. Now the second one might not be so obvious. High volume food essentially means that we're eating food with low calories but a lot of size to it. It's gonna fill up our stomach a lot. A great example is salad with no dressing. It's low calorie and high volume. You can fill your stomach up pretty easily with it, and it's what, fucking 10 calories? I wouldn't even track it. I'm talking straight leaves here. Brachiosaurus diet. And then of course, high protein. For me, this is pretty much the hardest part of any diet. I always struggle with hitting my protein. What do you mean by hitting your protein? Well, you want to shoot for at least a gram per pound of body weight, especially while you're cutting. While you're losing weight, having a high protein intake is especially important. This is because while losing weight, we don't want to lose weight. We specifically want to lose fat. So having a high protein intake gives our body the signaling and molecules it needs in order to actually repair and prevent that muscle wasting from happening. Why is this so hard? If I could eat all the food in the world, I would hit my protein intake every single day. But unfortunately, when you're on a low calorie diet, to hit, say, 180 grams of protein, you're gonna need to fork up a large portion of your calories for that. Now personally, I really like to enjoy my food. To this day, my favorite food is still pizza and gummy bears. When you've got 1,200 out of your 1,800 calories sucked up by protein, that doesn't leave much room for carbs or having fun. This is again why I say it's so especially important to avoid cutting too aggressively, especially when you're first starting out. Odds are you're probably gonna have a pretty hard time hitting your protein too, and that's gonna be even harder if your calories are way too low. And then there's going to be a certain point where you aren't really just losing fat anymore, you're losing muscle and fat. What's the point? Your body fat percentage is going up while you're losing weight. Instead of looking like a Hollywood actor, you're looking a lot more like that picture of Elon Musk on the boat. Now personally, my protein of choice is ground turkey and protein shakes. Now you should generally try to avoid drinking your calories, but it makes it a lot easier for me. It makes me feel like I get to have McDonald's chocolate milk while I'm dieting. Alright, so we now have our diet parameters. Next up, we're going to talk about the other side of the calories in, calories out equation. Calories out. We can increase the amount of energy we burn through exercise, specifically cardio. Everyone's favorite. Which cardio should you do? The one you like. But I'm going to help you out a little bit here and give you some expert advice out of my noggin. As far as cardio goes, you should be shooting for low intensity, steady state cardio that you can easily recover from and burn the most calories in the most time efficient manner. Now, since that kind of sounded like a foreign language, I'm going to break that down a little bit. Because we're on a calorie deficit, it's going to be a little bit harder for our body to recover from things it could normally pretty easily recover from. For example, running 3 miles. Personally, I pretty much never ran the entire time I was dieting. Why? Because it makes my joints feel like shit for the next 3 days. And if your joints hurt, you can't exactly have an intense leg day. Joints aside, there's also going to be some muscle fatigue associated with any cardio you do as well. We want to minimize this to get the most out of our resistance training, which I'm going to talk about later. So something that's low impact, pretty low intensity, but still burns the most calories in the least amount of time. As far as burning the most calories go, just do whatever you're most comfortable with and can do regularly and sustain for a pretty long time. If you're gassing out after 15 to 20 minutes, you're probably going way too hard. You want to do something that you can do pretty easily for an hour or two. For me, my preferred cardio is incline walking on the treadmill. This is because I'm able to burn a good amount of calories in a fairly short amount of time, and this could be because I'm fairly used to training and I have decently developed legs now, though they are a little lacking, but I find that 30 to 60 minute sessions daily, I get almost no muscle fatigue from it. If I take the incline a little too high, sometimes I will get a little bit of aching, especially in my joints, but that's how I know I've taken it too far. I usually do about 3 incline, 10 speed. Slow impact and actually burns the same amount of calories as I would jogging. After a good run, you feel like someone stuck metal rods in your knees. Don't even get me started on shin splints. Now that Sam Solik's promotional section's out of the way, we're gonna go into everyone's actual favorite, resistance training. Boy, am I glad that not everyone does resistance training, aka weightlifting. Weightlifting is gonna be what actually makes you attractive, not getting thinner. At first, I was actually really hesitant to start lifting weights because I wasn't really sure that I wanted to actually get a muscular physique. I just wanted to be skinny. However, while you're cutting, especially if you're doing it somewhat aggressively, your body's gonna be like, damn, I'm fucking hungry. Wait a minute, we've got all this tissue that we can get rid of. Why not get rid of some of this muscle mass? Because it's burning calories by just existing. Did you hear what I just said? Muscle mass burns calories by just existing. So if you increase your muscle mass, your maintenance calories is gonna go up whether you do more activity or not. On top of that, while you're cutting, doing resistance training regularly is gonna keep your muscle from getting wasted. If you're new to the gym, you're gonna be able to build muscle on a cut. Again, something I've accomplished. You want to train like you're trying to get as big as possible. Now, most of you are probably gonna be like, I do not want to get that big. I want to look athletic. Me too, man. Why wouldn't you try to gain that muscle and look as good as you can as quickly as possible instead of doing half-assed workouts? In order to actually look good and athletic, we want to decrease our body fat percentage, not lose so much weight so aggressively without doing resistance training the complete wrong way that our body fat percentage actually goes up while we're losing weight. A genuine tragedy. Hashtag Wegovy semaglutide gang. What should you actually do in the gym as far as weightlifting goes? I highly recommend the push-pull legs training split. On one day, you do push day, chest and triceps. Another day, you do pull, back and biceps. And then you do legs. I don't know why they didn't give legs a fancy term. Probably because everyone fucking hates leg day. Not that I really mind it. I don't know. I don't feel like leg day really did anything that bad. As far as what exercises you should actually do, if you're just getting started, I strongly encourage you to experiment and see what exercises you actually like the most, feel the most mind-muscle connection from, and could just see yourself doing on a regular basis. For example, on push day, pretty much everyone's going to recommend that you start out on bench press. Personally, I don't even do bench press. I use the chest press machine because personally, I can get a way better mind-muscle connection with it, and I just noticed my chest started growing a little bit faster when I incorporated it. So pretty much, just Google push-pull legs training split, try the exercises on there, then swap out the ones you can't fucking stand for similar exercises that accomplish the same thing. Now, this is where the more advanced stuff starts. Battling hunger. If you're in any real, meaningful deficit, especially for any prolonged period of time, you're bound to feel hungry. There's just no way around it. It's one of my least favorite feelings in the entire world. That strange, almost lightheaded, hypoglycemic, absolutely starving, lethargic feeling you can get sometimes. Luckily, we've got some methods to combat this. Now, if you want the methods, you have to leave a tip. First things first, we're gonna go back a little bit in the video. If you find that you're extremely hungry all the time, maybe reconsider your food choice. For example, I can inhale about 1,800 calories of peanut butter in the span of 5 minutes just because it's so low volume and high calorie, it's not hard at all to get down. And then afterwards, I still have room to eat. If you don't believe me, next week I'm gonna record a video of me sitting down and eating 1,800 calories of peanut butter. Anyways, the easiest thing you can do to combat hunger is gonna be just swapping out those foods that you need to have with low calorie, high volume alternatives. Great example for me is pizza and chicken nuggets. Now, one slice of Domino's pizza is like 300 fucking calories. But luckily, I'm smart and I'm a whole fucking chef. For 300 calories, with the power of cooking, I can damn near make an entire personal pizza. I think one of the most useful skills that you can develop for the purpose of weight loss is cooking. If you get good enough at cooking, you can still eat all the food you like while on a caloric deficit. Just make simple ingredient swaps and track everything you use in something like a food scale, and it becomes pretty self-explanatory how you can turn a 300 calorie slice of pizza into an entire pizza. And if you're good enough in the kitchen, you can make the meals you prepare taste almost identical to the originals you're trying to replicate. I don't know who this is gonna help, but for you fellow chicken nugget addicts out there, I personally highly recommend these Cauliflower branded chicken nuggets. I'm not sponsored or affiliated with them in any way at all, but they get me my fix. I slather them in ketchup or barbecue sauce, and they taste close enough to regular chicken nuggets that they get the job done for me. I don't care that they aren't the exact real thing because I get to have chicken nuggets every day. You, on the other hand, have been eating bananas and bland chicken breast all fucking day. That's why I'm gonna get shredded and you're gonna stay fucking fat. I get to eat like I'm morbidly obese and look like a fitness model. That's what us smart people do. Next thing we have on the table is intermittent fasting. Now, I personally regularly use intermittent fasting, but there's a catch. Get this is gonna be mind-blowing advice. If I'm hungry in the morning, I eat. Isn't that fucking crazy? Some mornings I just wake up with a fucking pit in my stomach, demanding that I immediately put something in my mouth. So of course, I listen. I do this because I know if I try to fast around it, it's a lot more likely that later when I actually do enter my eating window that I'm gonna binge eat. Or just end up eating way higher calories for the day than I'd like to. So about 50% of the time, I'll fast until roughly noon to 3 o'clock p.m. Break it with some kind of small meal, then eat a big ass meal at the end of the day. So I feel full before I go to bed. That's just what I prefer. Other days when I wake up starving, it's a lot more even and more typical looking. So as far as fasting goes, what I suggest you do is just listen to your body. Give it about a week to see how you actually respond to it because it's going to take a little bit for you to adapt, and the first few days are going to suck dick no matter what. So again, if you feel like you're fucking starvin' Marvin from South Park, you should probably eat something. And for the love of God, no, don't break your fast with a big bag of Skittles. It's gonna completely spike your blood sugar and make you way hungrier than before you ate. Just weigh your options, strategize, and really consider how you feel. I personally think the biggest flaw with intermittent fasting, especially if you're using it as a way to lose weight, is that risk of potentially increasing the chance that you're gonna binge eat. So if you find yourself prone to binge eating, just listen to your body and eat when you're hungry, and don't eat too much. What if we just don't want to feel hunger at all? Well, I've got you there, buddy. Stimulants, appetite suppressants, and all of the above. Before I talk about these, I'm not a doctor. This isn't medical advice. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Don't do anything I say. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. So I've used just about every stimulant and appetite suppressant available in order to suppress my appetite. First of all, don't do that. Second of all, don't go overboard with it. Be very careful and sparing in how you're using stimulants to curb your appetite. For 99% of cases, just a little bit of caffeine or a cup of coffee here and there is gonna be enough to curb your hunger. If you really feel like caffeine isn't enough, then either rethink your protocol, maybe you're doing something a little too aggressively, or maybe consider adding in something like yohimbine and getting a little fancy with it. But if you go any further than just using caffeine, seriously talk to your doctor about it. Honestly, anytime you make any kind of drastic changes changes like this as far as diet or supplements go, you should consult with your doctor. Just be open and honest with them, explain what you're doing, and they might just be like, oh shit, I've got the perfect thing for you right here. I hear semaglutide is some pretty good Next, we're gonna talk about carbohydrate timing. Where the fuck did that come from? Carbohydrate timing. Well, I didn't put it in the diet section because it is a little more advanced. Personally, I'm fucking terrible at this. Probably be a little more jacked if I was good at it. Pretty much, you want to get the majority of your carbs in before your workout. The idea here is we want our carbohydrates to fuel our workouts and then protein throughout the day and after to recover from our workouts. I usually work out borderline fasted. Maybe I'll have an electrolyte complex or something small just so I can get a pump. But for me, it's a lot easier to adhere to my diet when I eat most of my food or pretty much all my food at the very end of the day. I don't know why, it's just a lot easier for me to adhere to my diet when I go to bed with a full belly. I think one part of it is it definitely just makes it easier for me to actually fall asleep. And then the other part is I'm not going to be waking up in the middle of the night, rummaging through the pantry looking for Twinkies because I'm so starving that all I can think about is food. Again, throughout this entire video, I've been trying to caution you guys away from unhealthy habits as much as possible. I know how bad things can get because I've been through it. Being in a loop of binge eating and starvation is honestly one of the worst mental states to be in. Now, this is gonna sound like some hippie shit, but genuinely, you have to listen to your body and understand the different responses you get out of your diet and routine. If you're hungry and you feel like you're gonna pass out, probably doing something wrong. Maybe you feel like shit or your willpower is just waning a little bit. Maybe a little more than you'd like. Any second, you could snap and raid the fucking pantry like a feral dog. Maybe do some reconsideration. Use that medulla on your head to do some strategizing. Tracking your progress and staying motivated. For me, this has been absolutely crucial for staying on track. And it's just nice to be able to compare yourself to yourself and not Andrew Eubanks. And aside, do crackheads ever say, I'm too broke to tweak tonight? No. No the fuck they don't. They get up and make that shit happen. So just get up in the morning and weigh yourself, take a progress picture every once in a while, maybe daily, maybe every few days, but just try and get some kind of consistent progress tracking going. I like to view it as my reward for all my hard work. I personally get super excited for when it's time to weigh in and just get to see my progress in the mirror. Even if things don't quite go the direction I want them to, because you're probably gonna find that happening a lot more than you realize, of course weight fluctuates, or maybe you just fall off the wagon a little bit. But again, seeing those changes and seeing it happen in real time just gives you an extra layer of accountability. It's extremely beneficial for helping you get back on track. So with that in mind, don't be a lazy bastard and actually put in the extra 5 minutes a day to weigh yourself and maybe snap a progress picture in the mirror. You now have pretty much all the tools you need to turn taking your shirt off from a yikes moment to a canon event where everyone is absolutely drooling over your shredded six-pack or something like that. I don't know. I haven't had that happen yet. Actually, maybe I have. Subscribe so I can buy a Lamborghini, and that's all for this video.